Yeah, Lizzie did promise to be all up in the comments.
Hello. And hi, Lizzie. We are here to talk about Ready or Not, which we just watched all together and also over on Twitter. It was in my opinion, it was a very good film. What do you
I
guys
love this
think?
movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like so nervous about it because I was like, here I am repping this movie like so hard, and I'm like, oh my god, what
No, but I think it was absolutely justified. Absolutely justified. It was such a good film. That's probably the first 5-star film I've watched in a really long time. And just like, I can't think of a single thing I didn't like about it. And I'm so picky with films as well. Like, I don't know if you guys remember last year, The Addams Family, great film. I had 100 things that I hated about it, even though I was like, it's a good film, it's an enjoyable film, but here's my list. I have not a bad word to say about this film.
It was very, very good. I think what I liked the most about it was how it leaned into the stereotypes that I wanted to see and leaned out enough to make it its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to be talking spoilers here, by the way, because we're assuming you're here if you've watched it. But when the car came, I was like, it's halfway through the film. How can that be the end? And it was not the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing too about it is because I mentioned it the last time with like final girls in general and like horror movies, they don't like to, like, when someone gets hurt, somehow through the whole movie it's like they never got hurt, but like for her it causes a lot of problems, like the stuff that happens with her hand, like you can tell that it's very hard for her to do things, it's hard for her to pick up things and like use things. And it's like, I understand that adrenaline would probably kick in to where it's like, okay, I don't feel it. But I mean, like big things like that, I would need to see it from a character. And she does that like really well.
Yeah. I think she's a really interesting final girl anyway, because the whole time, every family member is like, she's a good person. She's so good. I can tell that she's a good person. And she's like, effing and blinding, and she's smoking, and she's just like, I'm a human being, and she's being sarcastic, and like, and I really like that because I feel like sometimes you have a final girl that is so troped as a final girl that she can only be chaste, she can only be good, like she can only be gentle and soft. And actually, it's not those attributes that make a final girl. I think that's just a stereotype, which I really like. Is like, yeah, she's a final girl. She's dressed in white. She's blonde. She's waifish. And she brutalizes that family for her own, like to survive. And I'm like, that to me, I really liked that because I feel like you're right, Olivia. It skirts along the edge of, here's a bunch of tropes that we know you'll enjoy because you enjoy a good slasher and you enjoy a good final girl. However, can I interest you in this kind of take? And I feel like that is all the things that I like about the Scream movies. And I feel like they're so like self-aware of what they're doing with it. I really liked that.
And I think what you said about her kind of doing it to survive is so true. Like at the end, you know, she's kind of had enough, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I like the slow progression because, again, the moment with the car when she left that annoying guy on the field, I was like, is she going to run him over? Is she going to run him over? But she didn't. But she's not at that breaking point yet. It's really like at the end, you kind of see the slow progression. It was just so believable, like really believable.
Yeah. No, for
especially like in the beginning too, because she's still willing to give so many of the family members like the benefit of the doubt anytime they're showing just a little bit of like, let me show you how to get here, or let me help you. She's still like, okay, when if that was me, I'd be like, no, I don't like what's going on here. You go that way. I'm out. Like, don't even try to help me at all.
Even like that girl with the dumbwaiter who was just so annoying.
Brutal.
She was still trying to save her afterwards. She was like, well, let me try and help you open the thing. I was like, girl, she needs to die.
We did, both of us. But that was it, you know. And I was like, I couldn't, like, so before this started, I was saying that Lizzie and I were sat here together. We turned all the lights off. We were watching it in the dark, and like I could feel Lizzie like clenching next to me. But when she punched that kid in the face, both of us went, "Oh!" It was so good because it was such a strong punch as well. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't mess with women because they will fuck you up.
Do we want to talk about the man in this film?
I mean, which one? Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the dad? I really want to talk about every man individually because I love them all individually.
Let's rip them apart.
We need to take a moment for Mitch, because Mitch, to me, as comedic relief, was such a refreshing take on that as well. Like, I need to talk about all of them. So where do you want to start?
I was thinking of the husband because in the beginning I was like, all his reasons for not telling her are selfish, and at the end I was like, she called him selfish. Yeah.
I liked that he didn't have an arc. His story, like you said, he starts selfish. He didn't tell her about the game. He didn't tell her all of the rules to the game. He didn't tell her about how creepy his family. Like, he told her that they were weird, but he never told her, oh, by the way, on our wedding night, you might actually have to fight for your life. You might not. There's a 1 in 30 chance that you might not have to do that, but you might have to fight for your life. He didn't tell her any of that. When they're in that corridor, like the back room, and he's like, if I hadn't proposed to you, you'd have left. And if I told you, you'd have left. And it's like right in the middle of the film, he is letting you know just how selfish he is. And when he sees her at the end back away from him, rather than go like, we're married, we can work through this. If I need to like spend the time, I'll spend the time. But like, I need to get you out of here. No, he doesn't. He turns on her because he's selfish. And I like the fact that it's not even that he's gone from being like a hero to a villain. He hasn't changed. Not like when he was trying to save her, he wasn't trying to save her for her. He was trying to save her for him because he's selfish. Yeah. And I really liked that consistency. That was cool.
Yes. Because I get tired. I do kind of get tired in horror films when they do have someone that like, because it's kind of similar to You're Next in a way, but in that person's case, like he tries to be a good guy at the end. And I just don't like it. Like, I want people who are bad in the beginning, like, just let them run that course, which is why I liked him as a character, because it's like I was expecting nothing more than for him to just be awful. And that's exactly what he was. And so, yeah, I really appreciate that too.
Yeah. As opposed to his brother, who starts awful and then has a really interesting redemption arc. And there's... Go on.
I was going to say, I don't think he starts awful. I think when we meet him, like the perception of him is he's the alcoholic, he's the messed up one, he's being so honest. And I feel like all of those things are traditionally seen as like bad traits of someone, but then actually it works best in his case. And
I meant more when he was a kid.
Oh, when he was a child.
That's our first introduction to him, is when he dobs in the uncle.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I mean.
I actually didn't know which one was which until...
Yeah, no, I had to ask Lizzie because I was like, I couldn't remember if she said David or Daniel. And it's what's his face, Brody, that plays that like is the kid that tells them where he is. And like and to me, that kind of like, it appears awful, but it also explains why he's so toxic, why he's like, oh yeah, I know I'm a mess up. When actually, like, his mom sat there and said, I'm so proud of you. Like, you've done a really good job. And it's like, he hates that. He hates that the one thing they're really proud of is the fact that he dobbed in his uncle and got him killed.
Yeah.
So I like that. And I like the fact that, like, there was a bit when he smacks her in the head with the gun and Lizzie was like, oh, I thought he was going to get his redemption arc. I thought he was going to let her go. And I was like, no, because obviously like the dad rocks up and I was like, no, he can't risk it. Because he'd have been shot too, because the dad's right there. And like he says, I'm drunk, I'm not blind. He knew he was going to be tested. So for him to then get her out later, I was like, that is the smart move. And again, he's being selfish. Like, they've raised selfish kids, but the difference is he's reached a point where he can't deal with the stuff that he's seen anymore. And I just find that really fascinating. But in a classic, I know that it's not made by Disney, but because it's on Disney Plus, I feel like it's relevant. Why can't Disney ever let someone have a redemption arc and then leave them alone to live their life? Like, why do they have a redemption arc and then they have to die? That's just the Disney way.
I feel like it's a way for them to like get back at the character for everything that they've done. It's like, well, we made him a good person at the end, but he's still going to end.
Yeah.
We would have been sad if he made it to the end and then he exploded. Like, we all would have been sad if that happened to him. So it's kind of like, he gets a happier death.
Yeah, I mean, he died defending the final girl, so he gets thumbs up. I mean, all of his quips, all of them, everything he said, I was dying. Like, I was like, I love him. I love him. So I think you're right. I think if he'd got to the end and then exploded, I'd have cried. Never got over the fact his last time. Yeah. Why have therapy when you can just
Strip it away?
And I think he also had like a protective nature, because in the beginning, when he did call to get the uncle killed, he was like trying to shield his brother, and he died trying to shield someone else. It's like,
yeah, I liked that. It was a very older sibling of him, which I thought was very cool.
I mean, like, when you think about it, that's such a messed up dynamic to grow up in. Like, I can't even imagine how any of them are still like within the family. I'd be like, no, I'm gonna leave. Like, I can't do this anymore. I can't.
But it's the money, isn't it? Because like his wife is the pinnacle of that. And I found it really interesting because we don't learn what her life was before, but it's heavily implied by the fact that her name is Charity. It's not that she comes from something poor, but she comes from like, I don't know, like a sordid sex work background.
Yeah.
Like, it's so heavily implied.
She was so sad that the brother would rather like her die than, you know, the whole situation. She was kind of sad about that.
Yeah.
But she was never horrible to him. What does she deserve?
Yeah. And it was also interesting to see the people who married into the family. Like, as you said, Fitch, he just did not want to engage, but he was also happy to go along. He was such a bystander.
Yeah. He reminded me of, have either of you guys seen like the Hostel films?
Yes. It's been a while, but yes.
No, that's fair. There's a character in them who is very much, I can do this, I can kill someone, I'm here for the adrenaline, I'm here for the ride kind of thing. And then when it actually comes down to it, they can't, because they are all bluff, and it's just the idea they get caught up in the excitement of it. But like, I love that he's the first one to turn around and go, this was all bullshit. Like, all of this was bullshit. And I think it's really interesting, because going back to what you were saying about the brothers, I don't know if you noticed, but when they went to do the final sacrifice moment, the older brother chanted Hail Satan. The younger brother was looking down. He didn't say anything. And I think there is always going to be that split in the family, which I find really interesting, because the other brother didn't have any kids at all. And it's like, no, the line ends here. I don't want to continue this anymore.
Yeah, because like, why would you? It's like, it's not like it's a nice budding environment for you to just become great, you know. You're like, well, we worship the devil, and if you're okay with that, everything's fine.
I laughed so much when she was like, my kids don't deserve to die. And I was like, okay, the kid shot the girl, but like, he didn't know any better. And then he was like, that's what everybody else was trying to do. And I was like, that's it, you can also die.
Yeah, it's when she was like, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, because I mean, positive parenting, reinforcing behaviors you want to see.
I like it.
Also, you know,
it was a very good echo of the beginning. Like, that line just started all over again. But oh my gosh, that mother was so annoying. I could not stand her.
The sister, that one that
I was like, please die first. Just
it's when like she just kept. It's when she got the cocaine on her top lip that I was like, this film is coming in hard with the don't do drugs, kids. Like, it was so funny. It was so funny, because it's like, she is already, and like, she's coping with it the same way the younger, like Daniel is, which is with substance abuse. That's how she's dealing with it. But the difference is, his subdues him. Like, alcohol, it makes you melancholy. It can make you spiral into like depressive house. Whereas cocaine is an upper. Like, and it's just the fact that she comes in already buzzing, and she's like, we're going to be best friends, and it's like, you are a lot. Like, you are already a lot. And I just think it's very interesting, because she's obviously of the family, and it's her husband who isn't. But I love that he spent so much of the film just hiding in the bathroom on YouTube. Like, that was so funny. That was so funny. Genius.
And what about setting? How do we feel about the house with all the secret pathways and the endless gardens with gates all around them?
Classic
I love that.
Loved it.
I want to go there. As soon as the movie, like that setting popped up, I was like, I know this is a murder movie, but I want to go there. I want to go to there.
It's really funny because, like, because my mum has always been in the wedding industry, I have worked in the wedding industry for a really long time. I have worked in buildings like that. And I'm going to look at them so different now. Like, it's so very different. Or I'm like, I know this one in particular has secret passageways. I wonder who's died. Like, it's very, very different. But I really liked that because I mean, the decor was stunning. Like, all the chandeliers and the books and the dark wood. But I like the fact that you can see the difference between what is on show for everyone else and what is on show for the family, because they step into that room and it is a hunting room and it's weaponry everywhere, and it's, you know, it shows the power of it. Like, I would be so freaked out in a room like that. I would have yeeted out of that. I'm like, I know I'm supposed to be playing a game, but I'm a bounce, and just like, no, absolutely not. But then, to be fair, I'm also the kind of person where if my wedding had been in that building, I would have seen every room by that point because I'm such a nosy bitch. Like, I'd have snooped. I'd have been all up in it. But yeah, that was but I liked the gardens. I liked that all the wedding furniture is still there the next morning, and it's so white and it's so pristine. So that she comes out just drenched in gore and just having a cigarette, like, loved it.
I don't think I've seen another film that has given me the same feeling of seeing her sit there, light that cigarette covered in blood. Like, that ending still is my all-time favorite thing. And I'm like, I don't know if anything is gonna make me feel the way that I felt when this scene happened. I was like, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Talking about those stills, there were two films at the end that I couldn't help but think of. And the first one was the moment when everyone was exploding and she was just like laughing. I was like, flashback to Midsummer, flashback to Midsummer. And then also at the end when she was sitting in front of the house, I was like, this just reminds me of that girl taking a sip from the mug after that film, the murder one with Daniel Craig in it.
Oh, Knives Out.
Knives Out, like she's got the big house. The rest of the family is on the outside and she's just sitting there with her mug. I was like,
yes,
I feel these vibes.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I didn't necessarily, there were quite a few films that I was like, I feel like it's very, very close to that. But I think that's what I really liked about it, is it really did, even though it's playing to a lot of tropes, it felt very original. And I don't know what it is about wedding themes in romances and thrillers. Apparently, I love them all. Like, if we set it at a wedding, I will lap it up. I just thought it was so clever. And it's just like when she sat in the dumbwaiter and she's like, so Grace, how did you spend your wedding night? Well, in the dumbwaiter. Like, and it's just so funny because it's like, yeah, it's all the expectations, and then what actually happens is so good. It's so good.
I think it's cool because like weddings have so much symbolism like within itself, and so there's so much that you can play on, and that's why I love seeing it like in horror, especially. It's because it's supposed to be like this grand, pure moment of bliss, and then everything just comes falling down immediately anytime something happens. And I love that.
Yeah. And tradition as well. You know, weddings are notoriously filled with tradition, no matter whether you're having a full church ceremony or you're having like more of a humanist wedding. Like, there's so much that's tied into it. And it's like, yeah, the idea that they're like, this is another tradition if someone joins our family. And it's like, great. I love that.
I want to ask you, what was for you the most gory or the most painful moment to watch?
The hand and the nail. That was the bit where I was closest to not looking. Though I missed the first bit of the dumbwaiter because I was too busy tweeting. But it was the hand and the nail thing that I was like, I don't know if I can look at this, and then couldn't look away. And Lizzie was like in my shoulder, just like, tell me when it's over. Like, could not deal with it at all. And it was a classic Chekhov's gun moment. The moment she's like there and it panned up to the nail, I was like, well, we all know what's happening with that. We all know what's happening with that. And now I just have to sit here and wait for it. How dare you?
Anytime stuff with like hands, because like I'm pretty good with just like the really obvious like in your face gore, because I kind of expect that. But when it's like the smaller ones, like a hand or something getting shoved into like an ear or an eye, it's almost like I can feel it. And then I'm like, the process of having to take this out after that also creeps me out and just gives me the ick. And just knowing having to like pull your hand away from something after it's been drilled into place is just like, I don't even know if I could do that. Like, I don't even think I could do that without just passing out and being like, this is it. I'm just going to end here.
But also, how unlucky have you got to be that in a massive hole in your hand, the bit that it takes out is the bit that's not the hole? Like, how unlucky?
Right.
Like, no, I hated that bit, but it was great. What about you, Olivia? Which bit was it for you?
I think it was probably like watching her, the part where she took it out. I was just like, it's very believable. Like when she was breathing so hard and just like her screams as well. I think for me in horror films, I hate screaming. I just think it's so annoying. Like watching it, the new one, I was like, I didn't like it because all these kids screaming was getting on my nerves. But all of her screams felt so genuine that I was like,
even the weird ones, like the one right at the end where she's like pulled the knife out of her shoulder, it's a really like guttural noise. And like Lizzie was like, what is that? And I was like, I agree. Like it was a really weird noise. But I think at that point, she's so angry. Like she's not even necessarily scared at this point. But it's when she's you saying about the breathing, it's when she's like pressed up against the wall right at the start, when she's just watched that first maid have like their brains blown out. And she's just like, and I'm just like, I would also be hyperventilating. Like that is a lot.
And the brother comes in and she doesn't move to even like try and save herself because she's still processing so much shock. I was like, that's believable. I wouldn't scream at you if you died then because there's nothing you can do. You're shocked.
Yeah. And it's like, where do you even put, like, where does all that pain go? It's like, you would have no choice but to scream because like trying to be quiet would be out of the question. So it's like, might as well just really get into it because it's got to go somewhere. It's like, I don't want to feel this. I need to feel something else. Go somewhere.
Yeah, it's when she pulled herself through the gate and she's obviously feeling all the pain because she's got it in her hand. Now she's got it across her back. And I actually thought that was across her stomach at one point. And then like, obviously when she pounds around, it's on her back and she like screams and then just a trail of expletives because that car drove away. I was like, rationally, I think you should keep your mouth shut so that you can get away. Logically, though, I absolutely understand that she just needed to, like, that was terrifying. And then once she screamed, she was running again. And that was it. It was just like, no, I need to get out of here. I felt so bad for her when the car was made to stop. I felt so, she did.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. The customer service, like, oh, they're trying to kill me. And he's like, oh, yeah, just the Wi-Fi, you know? And I was just like, I can't stop laughing right now. It's so frustrating, but it's hilarious.
It's like, oh, this car's been reported stolen. Really? In the last 2 seconds?
And he just stayed on the thing, like, just kept talking to her. I was like, why?
Yeah. So she's like, go fuck yourself, Justin. And he's like, okay. Like, I really, like, having worked with customers before, I really enjoyed how realistic that was. It's like, okay. Like, I'm not paid enough for this. That was great. That was really great. I didn't like the butler. If we're going to talk about all the men of this film, let's talk about the butler for a second. Like, what was he getting out of this? Just the tradition? And like, I love that for him, it was the music that got him. Like that for me, chef's kiss. Because if he hadn't been so wrapped up in his own little pride moment, you know, real pride before the fall moment, loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. And they should know better. You should know better than to be like, this is my moment. Because as soon as that happens, they're going to take you out. And
it's just like singing along. Oh, it's so funny. So funny.
I did also want him to be run over. He was so annoying.
It's the moment his head lifted up. I was like, you wait. You make sure. You double tap.
Yeah.
I may have watched a few of these films. I may have opinions.
But I also liked about this film that I feel like in a lot of horror films, there's moments where I'm like, you shouldn't have done that. You should be doing this. And there was no moment where I was like, I wouldn't have done what you're doing. It all felt just wholesome, believable.
Yeah. Yeah, like when the brother poisons them, and he doesn't poison them to kill them, he just poisons them to subdue them long enough to get her out. And when he's like, no, I looked it up, they're just going to be shitting funny for a week. I loved that, because I'm like, yeah, why would you kill your entire family for the sake of this girl? Like, I don't believe you, but I do believe you would irritate them enough to stop them, like, for 5 seconds so that you could get her out if you couldn't go out beforehand. Yeah, I believe that. There was a lot of it I believed, and I think that's part of the enjoyment. And the bits that I didn't believe didn't matter. Like, they didn't matter. The idea that like that the partner wouldn't have said anything to this point, or she wouldn't have got any clues, or that they'd have got away with it for this long. I don't know. I mean, having said that, it's always the rich people in films like this, because I think we can all believe
and I think
that people would do that.
Like, yeah, and like, even though it seems like you wouldn't think they would get away from it that long, I mean, I've read enough true crime to know that actually they do get away with a ton of stuff for a very long time, because they're just shoving money at people, being like, listen, if you don't say anything, we won't say anything. Here's the largest sum of money you've ever seen in your life. That's like chump change to me. So it's like that. It's like, I can see it. It's like, yeah, but also like, yeah.
Yeah,
and it also hadn't happened for years, so it's not like it's happening every year and they have to cover it up every single year.
And apparently they just chuck all the bodies in the same place anyway, so
yeah.
It's why it kills me. They were like, what are we going to do with this body? And it's like, well, you know what you're going to do with it. Same as we've done with all of them. But again, that's not something that in the moment, we don't know that, so it doesn't matter. It's like, yeah.
I feel like I would have tried to get out as well, though. I would have tried to get through that gate.
Yeah.
I would just want to be away.
Because if there are any survivors from the family, like, where else, like hiding out in the woods, like, where else am I going to go? Like, how am I going to get back to civilization from where, like, I'm at?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
So I was so angry. Yeah.
Also, like, I wonder, because it's not alluded in the film, but like, I wonder if, because this is like devil worship, if maybe that would have something to do with why, like, no one would know that this is happening. Because if we're going to go into like the realm of like supernatural stuff, then maybe, you know, paying homage to the devil would give you some like, okay, well, we're not going to get caught because, you know, we are literally working with the devil. So maybe that means that they like can stay hidden and there's not so many clues.
Yeah, it's not going to draw attention to itself, is it? Because like, yeah, no, for sure. I've just realized that you've got like the symbol on your jumper, and I love that.
I was like, I didn't even intentionally mean to grab my supernatural sweater, but that is
I didn't. Like, I put this t-shirt on this morning and didn't even think about it, and I was like, oh my god, it's a skull. It's meant to be. It's Gothtober. But yeah, and I thought it was great. I'm trying to think. There was something else I wanted to ask you guys, but I can't remember what it was. So I will ask instead, do you think you would survive this film? Because I straight up don't think I would have survived. I don't think I'd have made it.
I mean, I would like to think that I would, but I don't know. Like I said, the minute, like if that would happen to my hand, I feel like it might have been enough for me to just sit there and be like, I'm just going to wait until someone comes and takes me out, you know?
To be fair, if she had just stayed in that pit, they never would have found her.
Yeah.
I couldn't have stayed in that pit to survive, though. I couldn't have done that.
Yeah. The smell alone, like.
If the kid woke up and said that she was here, maybe they would search that area more.
Maybe, but
if they were dumping bodies.
They didn't even look, though. When they dumped it in, they didn't even look.
That's true.
I don't remember them looking anyway. They may have done, but I don't think they did.
I feel like I would not survive because I would, at the point where she needed to knock out the kid, I would struggle. He did shoot her, but I think I would struggle.
I wouldn't.
I would not. I would not. That's the one bit. I'm like, that's the one fight I know I could win.
Listen, the reason is because as soon as somebody does something to me, like everything flies out the window, and it's fair game. So if I have to hit you, I will hit you and knock you out. I will tie you up. I won't kill you because you are a child. Like, if I don't have to do that, I won't do that. But I will hit you. You shot me. I will hit you.
I think I would have survived, to be honest. too much of like needing to hurt other people. And I guess when they're trying to kill you, you will do something. But I feel like I don't know. I would try a lot of
I would be in therapy forever, and I wouldn't trust myself like around people anymore, because I'm like, what if I would start questioning, like, what if I was like that whole family? Like, what if it's easy for me the next time? What is this? Did I just have a break? Did I do it for survival? Like, I would just be by myself. My existence might be really miserable if I survive. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Lizzie wouldn't have even needed to be shot. She'd have been like, there's a child. Pow. Like, I'm not being funny. The moment she was like, oh, Georgie, it's you, I'd have been like, no, it's someone with a lamp. They're looking. Don't risk it. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, what do you think happened next? I like to think she inherited all the money because she's officially married.
She's married to them, yeah. And if there's no evidence of anything they did, then she hasn't got to worry. If there is evidence, and the evidence is what's in the goat pit, she should still be okay.
Yeah.
She will just need a lot of therapy and a really, really deep rinse.
Like, what happened here? They all exploded. I would be like, I'm sorry, exploded? Like with the explosive? Like, no, actually, it was the devil. They're gonna put her in a padded room if she's 100% honest.
I don't think you'd even necessarily I don't think you'd even necessarily need to go that far. I feel like you'd be like, so as you can see from here, I have suffered multiple wounds. I have been attacked. I have been chased, and in the end, they killed each other.
They set the house on fire.
Yep.
And that's where I'd leave it. I'd be like, devil who? Don't know, but like,
right. But like, what happens to that? Because what if he just doesn't go away? What if she, what if he like shows up at her door and he's like, well, you killed everyone I was working with. I need you to fix this.
I feel like they gave her like a little nod of like, good work.
I thought it was a nod of like, I'm out of this house.
Yeah, I'm sick of these guys.
I've been trapped here forever.
Yeah. Is that sign? See, I think if she was actually like truly part of the family, then she would have also exploded. But I don't think she is. And I think I really liked the timing of I want a divorce and like the ring hits him and it explodes. Like I really liked that. And I like the implication of like she has stepped away. It does make me wonder if family members had stayed away, that they would also not meet that end. Because there were a couple of them where they got married away and didn't play the game. But there's no talk about what happens to family members that just left. But when, like, I don't know if you saw the explosion at the end, there, like where the mum runs out with her kids, there were only 2 explosions, but 3 of them ran out the door.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if it was like I don't know if that was like unintentional or intentional, but if the little boy that wasn't looking and wasn't chanting, like wasn't involved, maybe he got out.
Like,
I don't know.
If you didn't participate in the ritual, that like it wouldn't affect you if anything went bad.
Yeah.
Because that would make sense to me. Because like, why would you do that to people that weren't even there in the first place? Because that would be hard to explain if people were just like blowing up all over the world because their family was participating in a ritual that they weren't a part of.
Yeah. But the aunt killed me. The aunt that I thought was the gran to begin with. Like the moment she was sat there on a little chair by herself, I went to Lizzie, that's me. That's, like she was just sat there so miserable. I was like, that's me.
I kind of wish she didn't talk. Like I loved her look and image so much. I didn't want her to say anything. I just wanted her to be sour and there.
Yeah. And the more she talked, the less I was like, you're not okay. You're not okay. Yeah. But I did like the twist that she was the bride that we saw at the beginning. Because I thought that was the other mum.
Yeah.
She seemed really unhinged. Like she really enjoyed what was happening, and I was like, that's we need to get out right now, immediately.
Yeah. I also like, speaking of like the ritual at the beginning, I really enjoyed. I
hope
there are lots of spoilers. But I really liked that. It's like, what about all the mask things? Oh, it was the 80s. Like I really like all the little throwaway comments like that. Loved it.
Yeah. Like the humor was really good in this. I felt like it was not like laid on too thick to where you're like, okay, that's enough. Like stop making these jokes. And they were always like well put, like they were in the right place at the right time, and it was just enough to be like, and then you would keep going with like all the drama and the action and stuff.
Yeah, it was really well structured and really well edited. And I liked that not every joke was verbal. I liked that there were a few that were just visual, because like we're not sat there being explained why is he looking at like crossbow videos. We know this because he's already said, am I supposed to know how this works? So the fact that he's still Googling it later is hilarious, because it's like, if there's all these time jumps, because she must have driven really far away for her to have escaped and got back just before dawn, considering they started midnight. So in theory, they have 6 hours to find her and catch her. So like she must, like, in which case, like, fair enough, like if they were like, this car's been reported stolen, like if it was 5 minutes. But then how did the butler get there? That's like, I don't know. So there's like things like that. But I thought the jokes around him trying to work out how to use his weapon, and when she like jumps down and like quite clearly like lands awkwardly because she's like holding her face as she gets up, is really funny, because he's just like and it's almost slapstick. But I was saying to Lizzie, I've watched so many horror films that are awful because they don't give you that cathartic moment to laugh. So you end up laughing at something that's not funny, that should be really brutal. So we're able to, because we get that moment where we laugh at her falling out of the window and like him Googling pacts with Satan, real or bullshit. We already had the laugh. So when she hurts her hand, that hurts. And we're not laughing at it because we already had our little chuckle before. I thought the structure of that was like pretty spot on.
They kind of give it to her instead. Like instead of that happening to us, it happens to her because all night she's seen all this awful stuff. And finally she has this like crazy manic break after everyone is exploding where she is just laughing. And I was like, that's funny, because it's not funny what's happening, but it's funny because normally that would be the audience. But instead it's the character, and rightfully so, because it's like, what else is left to do after everything you've just experienced? And half the time you're probably like, is this even real? Am I going to wake up in a minute and this was just like a really bad trip, a really bad dream? Did somebody put something in my wine? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And it's like when she has like the hallucination moment where like she thinks in the car that she's safe and then like wakes up because it's really jarring. I like that there's only like a little bit of that. Like it's not enough for her to like really fall into a dreamscape where she thinks she's escaped, and it's like, no, it's a warning, and it's her survival instinct like kicking in again.
Yeah.
Even the moment when she runs outside and she's standing at the place where she got married, and it just like flashes back to like the moments of happiness just after getting married, and then it's like back to reality, time to run. I was just like, I feel so sorry for this woman. She thought she had it all.
It feels realistic, because I feel like you would have those moments, because it's like, how did we get here? How did we get from this very happy moment to now I'm running from my life, from my in-laws?
Yeah.
You would expect it from maybe like a wedding guest, but not the in-laws.
Yeah. It does make me wonder about Mitch, or Fitch's, whatever his name is, background, because if Charity is from sex work and has no ties to her family and doesn't want to go back to her past at all, and Grace was fostered but no longer, like, her parents have passed away, I wonder what his deal is, because it feels to me very convenient that she has no family to be there at the wedding.
Right.
And it's like, considering the husband's like, I found her because she's good and like this, that, and the other, and it's like, but she still fits everything you need her to for your family to survive.
I think he definitely was seeking someone like that. Like, I feel like because he knows how his family is and like what was going to come eventually if he got married, I think he probably was being like, let me look for people who are like completely alienated from their family, who people aren't going to come looking for if something goes horribly wrong, because it's going to.
And who he can say are good but are tough in some ways because they've been through stuff before.
And I think it's because he's like a rich kid. He probably just assumed that she was gonna take whatever he was willing to give her because of her background. It's like people see who grew up in like foster care and things like that as someone who's like, well, they didn't have anything, so whatever I dish out to them, they're going to take it like with open arms. So she's not going to turn this down, even if it is crazy and even if she might die. Like, she's going to be grateful for like what's going on, you know?
I loved it. That was great.
It was a great film. Great last line.
I'm glad you guys liked it, because I was going to be so sad if y'all were like, you know what? It just was not it. It was a terrible film. It was awful.
No, 5 stars. Loved it. Loved it. Yeah, we'll watch it again. And like, to be fair, so I used to do this thing where every Valentine's Day I would watch a whole bunch of horror films that had one key trope, which is the boyfriend did it. Because there are so many where that's like the boyfriend is the killer. I'm adding it to the list. It counts. I'm adding that to my Valentine's Day ritual. Loved it.
You know what? If you haven't seen You're Next, I would watch that too. Because the vibes are very similar. And we have the survival thing in there too. Like, she's got some skills. I will say that.
Excellent. Who's the main actress in that one? Is that the Roberts one?
What is her name? She's from Australia.
I can't. I'm thinking of them.
Yeah, and she's crazy because she was in Step Up. I don't remember which number. Maybe 3, 4. There's so many. It doesn't need to be that many, but there are so many. But she was in there, and so that's the reason why I even wanted to watch Your Next, because I was like, oh, I remember her from Step Up. I want to see her in a horror film, like, because that's a huge jump from a dance film to a horror film. And then I watched it and I was like, she needs to stick to horror films because this is wonderful. I love this so much. And yeah, I really enjoy it. And it's one of those, it's just like this where you're like, and stuff. But it's like,
what's that crackling?
Yeah, I don't know what is crackling.
Are you getting a text, Tish? Is that what's happening? Are you getting a text?
Gone?
It's definitely Tish. Like, it's definitely Tish crackling. I don't know why, but it was really funny because it was like a random clicking. But
I think my headphones.
How bizarre.
Is this the beginning of the horror film for us?
Maybe.
And
I think you're breaking up a bit because of the crackling.
Here, let me.
The crackling stopped. And you're muted. Probably just your headphones. Yeah, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's gone?
Yes.
Okay. It's probably just my headphones.
Cool.
But unless you have any final thoughts, I feel like maybe we should wrap it up.
I'm trying to think if there's any characters I haven't talked about. I mean, I love Andie MacDowell. She's an amazing actress anyway, and she was great in this. I liked that she was a likable murderer. Like, she was very funny. Really liked her. I really liked the way the family responded to the servants dying, as if it was family. Like, the way they were just like, I liked her. She was my favorite.
Yeah.
And then like how creepy it was. It's like, he just likes the way I dance. I'm like, loved that. I'm just trying to like tick all the boxes of the things I liked. I really liked the opening sequence of all the games. And like the heavy implication of what kind of game it's going to be. Yeah, there was so many things, and I feel like it is definitely one of those films where I will happily rewatch this and find new things to like. Oh, I liked that they did that, and I thought that was really cleverly set up there and stuff like that. Yeah, it was good.
This is definitely top like 10 easily of my favorite horror films. Definitely top 3 for Final Girls, because like I love this movie so much. Anytime that the final girl gets to just go completely unhinged and is like, I've had enough, those will always be my favorite. I like those so much better.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely up there my favorite horror comedies, because can be hard to get right, and it just struck the balance perfectly.
Yeah, no, loved it. But yeah, no, I have nothing else to add.
Well, thank you to everyone who joined us with the watch along and for this live show. The next live show is tomorrow morning on Hannah's channel. There'll be reading sprints all day long.
Yes.
Can't wait. I'm going to read witchy romances. Here for it.
It's going to be a good time. And actually, do we want to explain what's happening with the slumber party quickly at the end, now that we kind of have...
Yeah, so my thought is it will probably be on this channel in the evening on Saturday, and then I'll be sprinting all day again on Sunday. But we're going to do the giveaway announcement during that slumber party, if that's cool with you guys. And then there will be games and things. It won't be as intense as the quiz. It will just be very chill, and there'll be like games and reading and general stuff like that.
You'll be stressed at a slumber party.
Genuinely, like it kills me because it's every year. I'm like, it's not going to be that hard. And then the general knowledge round, I feel so mean because I'm like, this is a fun fact that I learned that I had to squeeze into a question. Yes. And everyone's like, Hannah, we don't know that.
You know
we
what?
Don't know that.
When we finally have a theme for next year, I'm immediately going to go start studying like random facts about it, so that maybe it will just lessen the load a little bit.
Why are you studying? You won the final quiz.
You did. You came in with all that knowledge.
Yeah, but those questions, the general knowledge question, I was like, I feel like I should know at least a couple of these because they're like really interesting fun facts. Just like,
but you got the weaponry. You were 10 for 10 on the weaponry.
I listen. I'm like, and already every time I watch movies, I'm like, okay, pay attention to what weapon that they have. What would I use against a weapon like that? Is running going to be the best bet? Can I fight back? So yeah. Paying attention to the weapons all the time.
I liked, actually, speaking of this film though, I really liked that the whole poster of her with the gun and stuff, they really take a moment to appreciate that, and then it doesn't work. Like it's like, no, it's just for show. Like
which is realistic, which is so realistic. Oh, I think the only thing I didn't believe was the fact that he got through using those handcuffs. He got
I didn't believe that either. But I didn't care by that point. I was like, that. I literally turned to Lizzie and said, "That's not how wood works."
I was like, you're not going to get through that.
No.
But, oh well, it's good. It's good.
It's a good time. But yeah. So no, next week will be very relaxed, and then we will announce the winners of the scavenger hunt. There are quite a few on Twitter. There aren't any on Instagram that I've seen so far, and a few people have dropped me messages via Discord as well. So it'll be really interesting to see who wins. We've got so many books to give away. Yeah. So many books. So yeah.
Make sure you get your scavenger hunts in. But yes, thank you for joining us. Have a good night or days all, and yeah, see you in the next one.
See you later. Bye.